Today's episode of the Watson Weekly Podcast is sponsored by Miracle, the global leading provider of e-commerce software solutions. Create a value flywheel for your business with AI-powered marketplace and retail media solutions from Miracle. Over 450 customers across the globe are unlocking new revenue opportunities with Miracle. What's holding you back? It's December 9th, 2024, and this is the Watson Weekly, your essential e-commerce digest. Today on our show, 3 observations from Cyber Week, the 3 coming wars in the next 5 years, and 5 reasons Klaviyo is growing faster than most anyone right now. And finally, the Investor Minute, which contains 5 items this week from the world of venture capital, acquisitions, and IPOs. But first, in our shopping cart full of news, 3 observations from Cyber Week. Well, we did it. We're kind of through the fog here, guys. First, people stayed on the couch on their phones on Black Friday. Available retail metrics from MasterCard spending calls I have seen showed that in-store sales only grew 0.7% year over year compared to last year. This sounds incrementally positive until you understand that inflation is running around 2.5% right now. In other words, stores kind of took a beating. Second, retailers and brands among my consulting clients and extended network experienced a customer behavior shift this year. I think due to the shorter holiday period and continually earlier discounts. In short, the week before Cyber Week was higher than last year among reports I've seen, and witnesses that meant fewer customers shopped Cyber Week. This phenomenon actually explains NRF data as well, which reported a decline in the actual number of shoppers year over year during this period. Yet they still said this was a positive. And this is despite their higher online sales estimates. Lastly, in my experience, you don't win Cyber Week. You kind of only lose in some ways. And this is highlighted by the great philosopher Rosie Perez in the movie White Men Can't Jump. In it, she said the following: sometimes when you win, you really lose. And sometimes when you lose, you really win. And sometimes when you win or lose, you actually tie. And sometimes when you tie, you actually win or lose. Winning or losing is all one organic mechanism from which one extracts what one needs. And while Billy Hoyle, played by Woody Harrelson in the movie, never actually figures out what the hell this speech means, any retailer or brand who has been through Black Friday can clearly understand the phrase, sometimes when you win, you really lose. All reports I've seen show a record amount of discounting this year compared to last year, and record discounting to generate similar growth levels to previous year is not a sustainable trend. Our second story, the 3 coming wars in the next 5 years. We're in for a bumpy ride. The world we grew up in seems to be over, and a few new durable trends are being set up, and the transition doesn't seem to be temporary. It seems to be the new normal. And I present to you, what are the 3 wars of the present and the future? First is the war on humans. The megatrends putting downward pressure on the absolute number of humans hired are as follows. AI and robotics. Doing more accurately with less. Entirely new categories of job, of course, will exist in the future, but that belies the fact that the current generation is actually kind of left holding the bag. Wages are also putting downward pressure. The humans that do have jobs will conclude that their time must be so valuable and productive that they will command more dollars for their unit of time, which will ironically encourage more companies to have fewer humans. And the third trend here is fractionalization. If a role can be fractionalized, it will be. This puts downward pressure on full-time headcount as well. And just to keep this in mind, most normals are not fooled. When technologists say that AI will make us more productive, what Wall Street hears is continuous upward improvement in net operating margin, and not, we are going to hire more humans. The second great war over the next 5 years is the war on outsiders. This is an accelerating trend of which Brexit is just one of the obvious examples. Almost every major continent and country has been increasing political polarization, leading each country to pull back within itself. This is the unraveling of a trend whose best example is probably the United States entering World War II and staying involved globally since then, and culminated in Thomas Friedman's seminal book, The World is Flat, in the early 2000s. Call it the unraveling of peace through trade. This will have three effects worldwide. First, reduced immigration overall. And this puts upward pressure on domestic wages and forcing companies to fractionalize and look more globally for roles. Second is trade wars, i.e., see the last election. Supply chains will be one of the primary weapons in these trade wars. And three, shortening supply chains. The most cost-effective supply chains in the future will become the shortest ones. The Temuization of the world is perhaps the most poignant trend that local actors will stop and reverse. It is coming, despite the strapped local consumer and what they might want. And third trend over the next 5 years is the war on discounting. Strapped, stretched, resilient, resourceful, choiceful, penny-wise, stone broke. Whatever you want to call it, the consumer is under siege. Who must have answers for consumers? Brands. Most brands cannot afford to exist in the quality at any cost realm. And so what replaces it? Quality for value. Those who are perceived to have lost their value equation cannot get consumers in the door, sometimes at any discount. Even when these retailers, and I include Target among them, get consumers in the door, their execution is so poor that it simply doesn't matter. Conversion rates are down. The consumer you knew is not the consumer of the future. The consumer of the future is paying more for the same things: education, housing, childcare. Brands who figure out how to exist in this world without discounting will be the clear winners. Everyone else will play second fiddle. And our last story, 5 reasons Klaviyo is growing faster than most anyone right now. While it may be obvious why a marketing solution like Klaviyo is growing faster than an e-commerce solution like Shopify, I thought I would lay it out here. There are a number of reasons. 1. Industry verticals. Klaviyo as a marketing solution can easily expand beyond retail and e-commerce. On their website, they speak about restaurants and wellness today, but it seems like there should be a huge opportunity to expand beyond this into virtually any vertical that needs to acquire and retain customers, which is to say, kind of all of them. Second is a multi-platform angle. While Klaviyo is popular in the Shopify community, it's also popular outside as well. Many BigCommerce and other platform merchants also use Klaviyo. This gives Klaviyo more headroom. And 3, it's more difficult to re-platform e-commerce than marketing. Unlike Shopify, which is an area where it's difficult to switch providers, it's comparatively much easier to switch marketing providers. Of course, this could have downsides too. In theory, it could not be as sticky after switching. But this actually does give Klaviyo enough growth tailwinds that e-commerce platforms must themselves fight against, and so comparatively speaking, marketing platforms have better growth potential. Fourth, trading down could benefit Klaviyo. Merchants, like consumers, are in a value-oriented mindset. Klaviyo, even though not cheap per se, is comparatively cheaper than legacy platforms like Salesforce Marketing Cloud. Of course, Salesforce and other newer cloud platforms are benefiting from this similar trend too. Any marketing platform built more than 15 years ago is not likely to be as modern or integrated. 5. Multi-product portfolio synergies. Klaviyo has added a number of products over time to its traditional email product, SMS, Reviews, CDP. Because of the nature of its platform, it tends to make it easier to integrate these channels together compared to these same solutions being separated or being acquired from multiple different providers. The beating heart of Klaviyo is now your customer data, not just your email data. And over 400 plus integrations allow them to gather that first-party data. The more products someone adopts, the stickier they become for Klaviyo, and their net revenue retention seems quite solid despite a slight deceleration from historical highs. That's not to say Klaviyo might not experience issues in the future. One key trend we will need to watch is their enterprise penetration. Having grown up in the SMB space is limiting their upmarket growth. Significantly more resources need to be dedicated here in both product and go-to-market if they're going to be able to take more customers from other segments. One key opportunity I would love Klaviyo to take a look at is CRM. To me, either Gorgeous or Klaviyo is going to invest in a CRM. It is a very needed function as Shopify expands more into B2B, and one that I would not expect Shopify itself to build in-house. It's that time, friends, for our Investor Minute. We have 5 items on the menu today. First, ID.me announces closing of a $67 million secondary tender. ID.me has announced $67 million investment in form of a tender offer, which valued the company at a reported $1.8 billion. The company offers a digital wallet that contains data and verified credentials that can be shared with consent to complete forms and proof identity. In a time when trust digitally is a headline away, ID.me is positioned to grow their business globally as a digital verification becomes more adopted. Funny story, I met Blake Hall back in 2011 when I considered moving from North Carolina to Washington, D.C., where he was based instead of New York City. I interviewed with him at a time when there were no other employees. I decided to come to New York City instead, but I came away extremely impressed with the vision of Blake Hall, knowing his company would be successful. Don't regret my journey, but I was always super confident that Blake would be a success, and so I'm thrilled for him and to see that this has happened. Second, Volta, B2B commerce platform, raises $6.3 million in pre-seed funding. Volta, a European B2B commerce platform, has raised 6 million euros in pre-seed funding. The company offers solutions to mid-sized brands, retailers, wholesalers, and distributors by automated repetitive tasks to streamline operations. Interestingly, Volta defines itself as a Shopify for B2B commerce, but focuses on Europe. Is this a case of a startup trying to get ahead and be acquired, or is the market large enough for multiple companies? Third, Anthropic and Amazon deepen ties with $4 billion funding. $4 billion funding. Anthropic announced a new $4 billion investment from Amazon, establishing Amazon Web Services as its primary cloud and training partner. Based on this new funding, Anthropic will use AWS develop Trainium chips to train and deploy its future foundation models. The deals between Amazon and Anthropic benefit both parties. Anthropic gets a large customer who uses its technology, which AWS resells to its customers via Amazon Bedrock solution, and gets better pricing on AWS over several years. Amazon gets access to the latest models from Anthropic. Fourth, Levanta raises $20 million in Series A funding. Levanta, an affiliate marketing platform for Amazon sellers, has raised $20 million, which will be used to hire talent, expand its platform capabilities, and accelerate growth. Amazon sellers increasingly use direct partnerships with creators to grow sales and revenues on non-Amazon channels. Who would believe that in 2024, affiliate marketing is still part of Marketing Solutions' brand to scale revenues? And finally, creator advertising platform Agentio raises $12 million Series A. Automated creator advertising platform for YouTube influencers to sell ad slots, Agentio has raised $12 million in Series A funding, which will expand to its brand and creator network, scale its platform capabilities, and introduce integrations with additional social channels. Agentio offers a platform that makes purchasing advertising integrations within creator content simple. Brands want access to these audiences not available through traditional digital marketing channels. And today's word of the week of December 9th, 2024 is marketplace. Well, of course, we wanted to do this to introduce our new sponsor, Miracle, a company I've known and respected for many years, going back to almost 2012. By any imaginable metric, Philippe and Adrian have built one of the iconic software companies in the e-commerce space, and so having them as title sponsor of the Watson Weekend feels like working with an old friend. Cheers to this ongoing partnership. Did you know that RMW Commerce has a brand new podcast? Check out the Watson Weekend for an unfiltered and lively e-commerce chat each week with me, Rick Watson, my co-host Jess Liseski, and an array of interesting guests and topics, all focused on e-commerce. You can find the Watson Weekend by searching for it on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube. That's all for this week. Till next time, Watsonians. Hi, I'm Rick Watson, CEO and founder of RMW Commerce Consulting and host of the Watson Weekly Podcast, your essential e-commerce digest. Our production partner for the series is Citizen Race Car. The show is produced by Jose Baez. To hear new episodes of the show every Monday morning, subscribe now at rmwcommerce.com/Watson Weekly and wherever you get your podcasts.